In these few minutes that I have, I'd like to leave a thought with you. You and I have gold inside of us. Yes, we do. We have gold, precious, precious gold. Question is, what are you and I doing to maximize the potential that God has given us? What are we doing? What am I doing? Recognizing that God has given me a gift. He's given you a gift. What are you doing with that gift? We have gold inside of us. Stories told of in Thailand of the golden Buddha. What is this story? Well, there was a statue, something in the region of 8 feet tall, made out of, it was covered in cement, surrounded by debris, seemingly having all sorts of rubbish and things thrown upon it, and of very little value. In time, this became an eyesore. And so a Buddhist priest, which was heavy, so he commandeered some other priests to take it from the public square, a place where it could be cleaned up, because it was an eyesore. Now, in the process of repositioning it, alas, it cracked, the concrete cracked, and pieces began to fall off it. But to the amazement of those priests, they noticed that as it cracked, the glimmer of gold began to shine out. And so gradually they chipped away all the concrete that was surrounded this. And they found the world's largest chunk of sculptured gold. I mean, yes, sculptured, shaped, carved with intricacy, with great detail. Gold over 8 feet high, encased in concrete, debris thrown all around it, sitting in the public square where dogs and everything came and did their business all around it. This made me think, and think quite deeply, because all of us, we have gold inside of us. Why does this matter? This matters because by taking stock, evaluating who I am, my identity, why I'm here, I could then begin to discover what God has placed in me, in you. Whatever age, we're all of us in this world with a gift. In many ways, you and I are a concrete statue. Our real is inside. The potential, the latent potential lies hidden inside of us. But we know that every business, every individual, every home, from time to time, will and must take stock frequently to know what we possess. When I came to England at the age of 10, I had to make some conscious efforts to fulfill the potential that was within me. Against all the challenges that I faced back then, yes, when I went to Grove Lane School in Answorth in Birmingham, in St. Thomas, the beautiful parish of St. Thomas, right by the foot of the Blue Mountains, Hillside District. Yes, that great place. I went to school and I was one of the top students in the class on any of the subjects. I was one of the top ones, at least the top 3. And when I came to the UK back then, 65, I think it was, The truth is, I slumped and I went almost to the bottom of the class because I had to adjust to a new way of living, new style, the way that they spoke in Birmingham and still do. I had to make adjustments to all of that. I had to adjust to a lifestyle, but I knew there was potential in me. Yes, there was. Why all of a sudden I'm at the bottom of the class? Why all of a sudden? And then of course the 11 pluses came very quick, and then transitioning into another school and so on. And so I had to make that adjustment. But I am thankful that I did at that age have individuals, have a family around me, and those who cared. And that's important for us because there must be others in our environment that can help us to uncover, to discover the potential that lies latent within us. And so that helped me to evaluate, to identify, to take an inventory of what was inside of me. And I was not alone in that. And there have been many others. If you look at history, recent history and far history, when I love basketball, I recognize that Michael Jordan was thrown out of his basketball team at the age of 15 by his then coach. Why? Because Michael, you just don't cut it. Did I just say Michael? Yes, Michael Jordan was thrown out at the age of 15. This man had gold inside of him. But what did Michael do? He could have sat back, folded his arms, given up, and tried and find another avenue. But he knew there was something in him that needed to come out. He knew that the potential was greater than what he was actually producing. My question to you today and to myself always, am I fulfilling my potential? Walt Disney, yes, we've all seen Disney, as a youngster was fired by a newspaper because he lacked ideas. Yes, Walt Disney. Bill Gates dropped out of school feeling like misfits. Why? They just didn't fit in. Bill Gates, yes, and Steve Jobs. Albert Einstein couldn't speak until he was 4 years old and couldn't read until he was 7. And listen, Sir Isaac Newton, who I learned so much about in geometry, finished next to the lowest in his class and failed in geometry. But they all had gold inside. You and I have gold inside. What will we do to release that? And finally, let me just share you with someone by the name of Olaudah Equiano. From 1745, died 1797. Make a note of that name. He was aged 11 when he was taken into slavery from West Africa, transported to the Americas. After being released in freedom, slavery, then released in freedom, he wrote a book titled The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano, which played a pivotal role in turning public opinion in Great Britain against slavery. Wilberforce and many others picked up on that. Now, there was gold inside of him as there is inside of you and I. Our potential needs to be realized when we change, reposition our perspectives. Recently, there was an eclipse of the sun. In certain positions, you could not see that event unless you repositioned yourself to see that. Sometimes we've got to ask somebody to help us to see the gold inside of us, to release the potential that's there. And so when I thought about this, the bottom line is that gold is sometimes disguised in garbage and hidden in the most unlikely places. But even though life circumstances, even now, young men and any young women Or even if you're not a young man or a person, you might have gone through life and like I hear of this young Russian who went to the Americas at the age of 5, and he struggled in life, really struggled to make it. But eventually he was thrown out of school because he just didn't know how to make that adjustment to living in the Americas. One day when he finally got to do an IQ test on him, and this man, his name leaves me, had an IQ, intelligence quotient, of 161. Amazing. Now, you'd ask me, what's a typical IQ? Well, typical IQ in the UK is somewhere around about maybe 95, 97. In the Americas, about 98. Now, what does that matter? It matters because he was incredibly intelligent, incredibly savvy, and the door opened from then. There was gold hidden inside of him. Young men, young women, God never made you without giving you a gift, giving you a talent. We need to be able to form and surround you in such a way to draw out the gold. There are many others sitting at the table here who could tell you the struggles that they went through. You see, to refine gold and to get gold to be pure gold, so many carats, 24 carats or whatever carat, it has to go through fervent heat, very fierce heat to draw out the impurities. Now, sometimes you and I, what we are currently experiencing is the heat that may be drawing out the impurities. Ephesians 2 verse 10 says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance as our way of life. For we are his handiwork. We are his masterpiece." That word workmanship is interesting, because when you look at the word in the Greek, it means poiema. That means something made. It's the finished article. So you were a finished article before you were born. What we now need is the process and the submission to the process to bring out what God already designed before you were born. Much like Jeremiah, before you were formed in the belly, I knew thee, I ordained thee, I set you up. So young man, young woman, God has set you up before you were even born. You are his workmanship. You are his finished masterpiece. He has designed, designated the gold that's within you. It has to go through it. Yes, many of our black young men, black young women in this country, we talk about Equiano going through slavery, going through challenges, but God eventually pulled out that gold that was there. And I could list many others. Mary C. Cole, we talk about, they had to go through their furnace so that the gold could come out. There is gold within you. Submit to an elder, submit to a mentor, a coach, somebody that cares for you, that's going to pull that gold out. It may be difficult, it may be challenging at times, but it's worth it. I don't control life, neither do you, but I can control how I respond to it. There is gold inside of all of us. God's precious gift of gold, the goldenness of his presence. Allow that to be drawn out so that you can fulfill your potential. Perspective, when changed, will enable you and empower you to fulfill your potential. So reposition, like those that I've mentioned, whether it's a Michael Jordan and you might have been thrown out and told that you know, or even a Beethoven, great Beethoven, his music teacher told him that he was hopeless. Now, if you just Google Beethoven and you see all the symphonies that he has written, but yet he was told that he was hopeless. Sometimes even as believers in Christ, it's as though we don't have a place or a room, but don't let anyone's vision or words define your destiny. God has defined your destiny already. You are his workmanship, his masterpiece. God bless you. Thank you.